Happy Friday! It is the Prop Queen Pod. I'm the Prop Queen Ariel Epstein. I forgot to elevate the computer. Whatever, it's fine. We are going to have a very loaded show today because first I am going to be unveiling a very, very embarrassing video of myself. It's about 1.5 minutes. So if you would like to start your Friday off with a laugh, you can start it off by watching me completely embarrass myself in front of a ton of people. I had a horrible day. It's not horrible. It's so stupid. It was a really just annoying, frustrating day already. So I'm hoping that this goes quick for the hour because I need a glass of wine or 5. Today on the show, we are going to be joined by 2 great guests. One guest you've been asking for a while. Well, Shawn Michael has been. First, we're going to have Mid-Major Matt joining the show talking Major League Baseball. We are going to talk some college football. And then we are going to be joined by the one and only Stormy Bonatoni, who's coming over from VSiN and ESPN. We had to grab her this week because next week her life gets flipped completely upside down as she starts her college football season. And she will probably, I think, be covering week 1 somewhere. So we'll ask her about that and get the inside scoop on what goes into even covering these games. As a reporter, what does her work entail, in addition to how she balances it with her gambling career? Because we know that things in the gambling world don't always, like, people get a little weird about, oh, she's on ESPN and gambling, but she balances it so well. I was stuck today, as many of you know if you follow me on social media, which most of you do. I was stuck at Nissan for 4.5 hours. That's how desperate I am to get to Morgan Wallen tomorrow in Boston. A lot of questions about why didn't you just Uber? Why didn't you just take the train? Why don't you have your own car? Why is it your brother's car? Well, there are a lot of answers to those questions. First of all, I live in Manhattan, where if you would like to park your car in a safe place that's not the street, then you have to pay another at least $800 a month to park it in a garage, which in normal places is rent. So that's out. The other thing is my brother left for college and said that the car had no AC problem, but that's the difference between a guy and a girl. A girl knows when there's a problem, and a guy is like, I'll just sweat a little bit. No. So 4.5, yeah. So the other problem was at the Nissan in my hometown, there's just like not anything around it. It's off a main road. And also, we like have no Ubers in my hometown. People think that because I live in New York City that I am like a city person and I'm from this like huge area. No, my hometown is very suburban. It's in the country. It's not like a Uber place. It's really difficult. So anyway, today, I sat at Nissan for 4.5 hours, and my agent, JJ, thought it was going to be really funny to message me and send the Nissan logo as if he was going to get them to be a sponsor. Honestly, they should sponsor me at this point because I sat there all day. Like, I literally did a part-time job there. I got some work done. Their Wi-Fi could be a bit better. The service was very nice, though. The man who was working there, KD, was awesome. So I have to give him a shout out. He gave us a little discount for my waiting. He felt really bad. He kept coming back to make sure I was okay. It was very sweet. Anyway, no, okay. Yes, it is crazy, Shawn. You don't sit in a car dealership for 4.5 hours. 2 maybe. I was planning on 2 hours. I've literally had cars for my whole life till I moved to the city. I know you could sit at a car dealership for 2 hours, not 4.5. 4.5 is a bit extreme, honey. It's a bit much. Okay, so the air conditioner is fixed, and I'm going to Morgan Wallen tomorrow. So if anyone's going to be at Morgan Wallen at Gillette Stadium in Boston tomorrow, or Foxborough, let me know. I will be in Boston tomorrow and Sunday, and we'll be back Sunday afternoon. Don't worry, I will have shows ready to go. There was some news today, like Brian Robinson going over from Washington to San Francisco. There's rumors now of Adam Thielen potentially going back to Minnesota, even though he's in Carolina. So there's a lot of weird things going on in the NFL at the moment. A bit extreme, 4.5 hours. They could have stripped it and rebuilt it. I know. Per Shawn Michael's request, before we get our guests on the show today, I'm going to show a video that is extremely embarrassing. It's on YouTube if you'd like to rewatch it. Everybody who loves me in my life laughs watching this video. So I don't know what that means about the people that love me I guess I also am a sadistic person and think it's funny when people survive getting hurt. I'm going to show you the video of back when I was a local sports anchor in New Bern, North Carolina at WCTI News Channel 12. So every day my old sports director, Brian North, would send us, well, the sports people, we covered about 4 high school games a night per person. I had to run. It was about 20 to 30 minutes between each high school I had to go to. I had to map it out, plan the whole night, and somehow, yes, Marley, it was way before your time. And somehow, oh, that's cool, Earl. Yeah, I was at WCTI in New Bern. So back in the day of the Blitz on Fridays, which actually I think might even be starting today, which is ironic. I used to have to go from like one high school to another, starting at like 5:30, 6 o'clock. I would get there, shoot the first part of a game, get a touchdown, and then leave, go to the second game, have to go to the third game, the fourth game, then come back by about 10:15, 10:30 to the news station, edit all the video, put it into the show, write my scripts, help my boss with his stuff, and then somehow get on air by like 11:05 p.m. Eastern time. It was the craziest nights. We would get to work around 1:32, and we would work until about 2, 3 in the morning. And then we would do it again for college football the next day. High school, the Blitz was crazy. Now, mind you, I think this was my last stop of the night when I went to the West Craven-Kinston game. So I'm going to show you guys what exactly went down. And also the worst part, my former sports director, Brian, who I love, we are very close. He made me go and interview the coach and the players actually, who were part of the game. He made me go back and interview all of them. So here it is. Hold on. Here's YouTube. It was my biggest game of the night to really go shoot, and we knew it was going to be a great finish. I wanted to make sure I got the shot.
I had to roll right out of the pocket, and he had a corner route which was toward the sideline. So I got through to the sideline.
I was watching the ball through the air.
I know the trail was in stride on a corner route to the sideline. He kind of caught it, drug a foot. And
then I heard footsteps, but I knew I wasn't going to get out of the way fast enough.
She was standing right outside the media line.
I was about to get laid out.
When I ran into it, it felt like it was in slow motion. Like I seen her falling.
Kind of one of them, ooh, things right to start with.
It was a pretty hard hit.
I feel like I was in a car accident.
I know she doesn't get back up to that one.
Wow, it really looks a lot worse on this video.
I think everybody in the stadium was concerned.
I thought she was going to be down for a while.
When I felt my limbs and everything, I knew I could get up.
By the time I turned around, she was already up.
Once she popped up and kind of looked like she wasn't hurt very bad, we were kind of eased about it.
Yeah, of course it hurt. I'm not going to sit here and say it didn't hurt.
When she bounced right back up, it was like, yeah, she's pretty tough because didn't like she feel it or nothing.
I was okay enough to play tough girl, is I think the answer. My back definitely hurt. My neck was sore.
Usually you wouldn't know a girl to be tough. You would think they usually just sit there, lay down, and cry.
I mean, I was definitely playing some tough girl. There were tears, but I didn't let them come out. People were concerned, which is nice, but ultimately the respect that you earn from this. I literally went on set, looked completely deranged. Like I was totally concussed, and walked on the set as if I was so fine, was out of it. I don't even remember the show. I tried to work the next day. I went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, yeah, you probably concussion. So that was me getting knocked out on the sidelines. I got back up. I was fine. The camera actually survived. I don't know how. I think I actually got hit because I tried to keep the camera to the side. I knew the news station was going to be happier that the camera was okay than me. So that was my unfortunate story of getting taken out on the sidelines at a high school football game. And the players were so nice about it. The coach was so nice about it. And ever since, all that I ever hear when I go back to that area is, remember when you got taken out on the sidelines and you got back up? And yes, Mom said that I was fine. I called her in an absolute panic that I probably was not good. Mom and Dad's response was, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. And I go back a few days later to the doctor, and he's like, no, you got a concussion. You shouldn't have gone to bed. Everyone told me to just have a glass of wine and go to bed. I'm fine. That was horrible. And Brian North, shout out to you guys. Shout out to the Blitz, WCTI. I think it's today, as long as the hurricane didn't hurt North Carolina at all. They should be previewing the Blitz today on WCTI. You can check it out on the website if you want. I've got some great people over there, and I'm real happy for them starting out high school football down in the Carolinas today. We're going to go a little bit north of the Carolinas because my good friend Mid-Major Matt, who joins the show every Friday, joining the show now, as he always does on a Friday, from the racetrack. Let's bring on Mid-Major Matt, talk some Major League Baseball. What's up, Matt?
How's it going?
You know, I just had to relive a little bit of a traumatic moment because per popular demand, that's what everybody likes around here. Aside for that, just waiting for my wine. How's the drive?
That's, listen, that's not a bad way to go. I'm sure it'll be a good one after the ordeal you've had today.
Yeah, Nissan was not my friend. We need to turn this day around ASAP. Did you ever, when you've been on sidelines, if you've been on sidelines, have you ever almost been hit by a player?
No, I have not. I'm very good at figuring that. Actually, you know what? One time covering Syracuse basketball at Notre Dame, I nearly had a player fall on me, but I got out of the way quickly.
You know who has been hit? Stormy Buonantony, and we'll talk about that when she comes on after Matt. She got hit, I think, actually worse than I did. For anyone that doesn't know, you'll find out soon. But let's talk some Major League Baseball. I know we've got props. We'll talk a little college football as well, since you like the smaller schools. But we'll get to some MLB. And we are on opposite sides for a little bit today. But Brian Bayo, over 16.5 outs, Red Sox, Yankees tonight. Why is he staying in this game?
He's just an outs machine. I mean, he is a guy that goes long. If you look at his recent numbers, he is a guy that goes 6 innings quite a bit. And I get it. The Yankees are capable of stringing together a lot of hits, and he doesn't last long. Look at Giolito last night. He didn't last very long. But because Giolito didn't last long last night, I think that they have to keep Bello in a little bit longer. A lot of arms. What was it, 5 different Red Sox arms last night? We're not asking him to go the full 6, which is key here, but he certainly can. So I'll take a shot that this is not vintage Yankees, and he's got decent numbers against them. So I'm going to take a shot on Bello to go over 16.5 outs.
It's definitely not vintage Yankees. That team last night was an absolute disgrace. Another game of multiple errors. We both agree on one thing today, just one. We always go through the whole card. We do the prop spreadsheet. We always talk about it. The one player we agree on, Ryan Bergert. Why are we going over 4.5 Ks?
It's because the Tigers strike out a lot lately. And if you look, Bergert is a guy that the last couple starts has flashed strikeout stuff. The Tigers are striking out a lot since the All-Star break. And I think Bergert is usually good for 5 2/3 innings. And this is a low enough number here that I kind of like it. I just think that he's got really good stuff. San Diego never let him go. He only would go like 4 innings for San Diego, and I like that Kansas City's letting him go a little longer. Now, the worry is he is the young guy. At some point, they might start pulling him to watch his innings, and that's something we certainly have to watch out handicapping-wise the rest of the season because we're now at that time. But I'm going to go that he's going long enough, and I think that the Tigers keep striking out, and so he goes over the 4.5.
We've got the Mets and the Braves going head-to-head in Atlanta. Nolan McLean pitching for the Mets. Not many people would know this name. He wasn't in the rotation to start the year. What do we know about Nolan McLean?
He looked really good the first start, and he strikes out a lot of guys. He struck out a lot of guys in the minors. And I think if people look at the spreadsheet, they'd say I'm crazy because the Braves have gone under this a lot, which they certainly have. But if you look at the key here is besides looking at the numbers, you have to look at the starting pitchers. So if you're going up against guys who aren't striking out a lot of batters and the Braves don't strike out a lot against them, then that makes sense. But McLean's a guy who's got strikeout stuff. The Braves lineup is not as good as it has been, and they have struck out a lot against the better pitchers in their lineup. Now, the one thing that worries me here is the weather. Pop-up storms down in Atlanta tonight. There's a chance it could get rain delayed. That's why I made this a smaller bet instead of a larger one, because if this was perfect weather, this would be one of my favorite bets of the day. But pop-up storm possibility down in Atlanta. But I think if this game goes through, he goes 5 innings, we can get 5 strikeouts from him.
We actually disagree on Jose Quintana today. So you like him to stay in the game over 17.5 outs. I don't trust Jose Quintana at all. He's pitched worse at home this year. He's getting the Giants. The Brewers are minus 166 at home. Why should I change my mind on Quintana?
Well, if you look at the lefties against this team, they've gone 6 innings. I don't have the number in front of me on my tweet, but I put it in my tweet this morning. It's something like 11 of the last 15 lefties have gone 6 innings or more against the Giants. They're the worst batting average in Major League Baseball against lefties. I hit Quintana's over in San Francisco. I think it was like 50.5 way back in April or May when this game came around. So I'm going to take a shot once again. Quintana is a guy that pitches the contact. Well, if it's not good contact, then the at-bats are short, and these guys go up and down. So I'm taking a shot on Quintana at home with a bet I already won in San Francisco against the Giants team that is terrible against lefties.
They are terrible against lefties. The Giants have the worst OPS and batting average in baseball this season against southpaws. It is a reason to stay away from this under, but I just hate Quintana. Everything about Quintana, but he's less of a fade at home, I guess, except he has struggled there this season. But Ryan Nelson, he does do better at home. He's home, minus 134 favorite against the Cincinnati Reds and Zach Littell, who we're going to get to it in the group chat. In the group chat. In the show chat, I'll ask about other questions. But for now, in this game, you like Ryan Nelson under 2.5 runs, minus 145, Matt.
He has not gone over this at home. And he used to be a guy we fade a lot because he wasn't very good. I mean, he's a guy that for the most part last year was just a guy we used to fade. We'd take his strikeouts under because he used to never be very good. But if you look at his numbers at home, he's never allowed 3 earned runs or more at home this season. He did once in a relief appearance, the very first appearance of the season. But as a starter, and he's gone up against some good offenses there. San Diego, a couple of other really good offenses there. The Reds are hot and cold. This is a long West Coast trip. I still think they have to go to LA afterwards to face the Dodgers after this. So there could be a little road weariness as they stay on the West Coast. So we're going to play the trend and go under 2.5 earned runs for Ryan Nelson, who has not gone over this as a starter at home this season.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because he does typically pitch better there, but just has not stayed in the games long enough at all. JMain34 has a question for you, Matt. Phil's team total over?
So it is Cavalli's second straight game against the Phillies. You would think they would have better at bats. The Phillies offense has been ridiculous lately. I almost think the better bet, J-Main, is let's take the Phillies team total over after Cavalli leaves potentially, because they might struggle early and you might get a lower number. And the Nats bullpen stinks and the Phillies are home. So I might wait until the game starts, maybe a couple of zeros posted early, and then take the team to wake up a little bit later in the game.
He also asked or said, Littell under 17.5 outs. Only one righty went over this in the last 10 against the D-backs.
So the one thing is, Littell's the type of guy that they'll leave out there because he's a veteran and because he's an innings eater. So I don't mind it. Certainly, I haven't looked at the numbers with regards to having that back up. But like the one thing I do know is Littell's the type of guy that goes 6 innings, even when he's not pitching great. He also is a pitch to contact kind of guy. So that's my worry here is if he's kind of not great, but not bad, he may stay in this game 6 innings anyway.
Yeah, I didn't really love too much on the board for pitcher props tonight. There's the one that we agree upon. The other 2 I have that I'll talk about later in the show are a little iffy. Now, one thing that's really exciting, we've got college football starting tomorrow. We've got a game at noon Eastern. Matt, I know this is your bread and butter. This is your favorite time of year. You've got college football on the slate. Where are you going to look on the board tomorrow?
So here's my thoughts for tomorrow. I was looking at the touchdowns props on DraftKings, and hopefully your book has it. Unfortunately, we don't in Virginia, but it's one of my favorite markets because as we talk about, you could take a team total, but you can hit a touchdowns over, but not the team total over. Classic point is Kansas's team total over is like 30.5, but their touchdowns over is 3.5. So there is that kind of middle where you could take the over for the touchdowns, but not hit the team total over. It's an interesting slate, and I'm not really forcing anything. So if I do play anything, I'll post it on my Twitter account. It's going to be small tomorrow. The first game, the game in Dublin, the Kansas State-Iowa State game, it's so even down the middle. You've got 2 great coaches, 2 great quarterbacks. You've got 2 teams traveling to Dublin, Ireland. It looked like both arrived on Tuesday, so there's no travel advantage. This is a game that I'm just going to wait and see the first couple of drives, see who's adjusted well for Dublin. So I'm not really playing anything there except for maybe something live. The game I'm interested in is Sam Houston in Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky, a couple of years ago, did the thing where they took a quarterback and an offensive coordinator from the FCS and made it work. They're doing that once again. They took an offensive coordinator from the FCS and a guy named Maverick McIver is their starting quarterback. And so I think they could have some success against Sam Houston State that has 0 returning starters back on defense. On the other side of the ball, Sam Houston State might be using 3 different quarterbacks, which is never a good thing. Western Kentucky's defense stinks, but their offense is so good that it could be a shootout. So that's a fun game. And then you'll get to see Kansas's stadium tomorrow because Kansas's stadium was renovated this offseason. The guy, David Booth, who just made a $300 million gift to Kansas, they named the stadium after him. So there could be a nice bump from that. But I really like the coaches that Fresno State's hired. Matt Entz from North Dakota State. E.J. Warner, Kurt Warner's son, is their quarterback. So that'll be a really interesting game. I might play Kansas over 3.5 touchdowns. I love their quarterback, but there's not a lot back other than that on their offense. But I think this is a good week to kind of learn. And this is probably a really great week to bet live once you get a kind of a sense early on as to who's playing well and who's not.
The large spread's always what we talk about in the first few weeks of the season. We are already seeing a double-digit spread as we've got Fresno and KU, which one ranges from 12 to 13. So speaking of dogs, how likely are you to take points or lay them with these larger spreads the first few weeks?
Fresno State's a possibility. They might cover that number, but we lost the key number of 14. It's now 13.5. So if it's 13.5, you could always buy the 0.5 point. I know some people will be like, oh my God, I don't buy half points. But to make a key number like 14, you certainly can. I'm more apt to take an FCS team who is a double-digit underdog against an FBS team. And Thursday, we start getting those games. So I'll certainly be interested to talk about like the Thursday FBS, FCS games. I haven't dive into them yet. But, you know, underdogs can certainly cover some of these early games. I wouldn't do it against like the Ohio States and the Penn States and those games because we know that those, you know, top 25 teams, their coaches know the spread. They're trying to win the game for the alumni and everything. But, you know, a game like Kansas, I might be interested in Fresno State if the 14 pops back up.
Yeah, that one's already fluctuated a lot. If you're seeing 12s, we've seen 14s. That's one of the large spreads of this weekend for sure. Any advice for week 0 in particular?
I mean, it's just don't feel like you have to bet. I just, you know, there's too many people who are like, I've got to get things out. I've got to make decisions. You know, the Hawaii game on Saturday is at 7:30. It's not the midnight special.
Which is so
you know,
annoying. I was hoping that when I was in Boston, leaving the Morgan Wallen concert tomorrow night, that I would be able to go to a bar in Boston to watch the Hawaii game. And it's like, I need to bank on 4 overtimes for that to happen.
I mean, yeah, it's just if people are thinking that's at 11, it's not. It's at 7:30. We need Hawaii to win. I gave it out on this show. We like Hawaii over 5.5 wins because we think the Rainbow Warriors could go 6-1, 7-0 at home, but that needs to start tomorrow. So we need a Hawaii win for one of our win totals, which kind of stinks that we already have to sweat a win total week 0. Like I can't even just relax and enjoy the football this weekend, but yeah, I think
Hawaii this year. He liked their receiver.
Hawaii. Oh, Pafali Ashlock. He is awesome. They've got 3 wide receivers. They also have a wide receiver who played at Stanford. So he might be a guy that'd be very interesting to see. Are they going to feed him a little extra against his former team? I don't think there's any sort of bitterness or anything, but he is going up against his former team. I wish we had player props here in this state, but you might look at Hawaii's quarterback over his touchdown passes. It's probably 2.5. Stanford's secondary last year was brutal, and they really haven't gotten any better. And with the type of offense Hawaii runs, they're going to want to throw the ball. So I might look at a touchdown over for their quarterback if it's 2.5.
Ooh, okay. That's a good prop to look at. I'm sure some of these props are insanely inflated because of the short slate, but we'll see if they allow us to even bet anything this week. For college football futures, which again, next week we are going to start week 1. Heisman, anyone you have your eye on there?
So, look, with the Heisman, I'm always looking for underdogs. And look, the thing is, when we do futures like this and betting on like NFL awards and stuff like that, I'm mostly looking at long shots and I'm putting like 1/10 of a unit on it. Because the key is you either lose all of your futures bets, but you barely lose any money, or you hit one of them and it covers the rest of them. So a couple of guys that I kind of like with regards to the Heisman, I think Fernando Mendoza in Indiana, I think he's really interesting. Indiana's going to have an offense I think is going to be very successful this year. Mendoza was good at Cal. I think Devon Dampier at Utah, I really like Utah this year. I think Utah could win the Big 12. And in that case, I think Utah's quarterback is in play. The problem is he was mediocre at New Mexico, but he's really talented. And I like Utah's offensive coordinator. So Dampier is a guy that I'd be really interested in. And then I also like John Mateer. Ironically, we could gamble on John Mateer, the guy who posted on his Venmo that he was gambling, which is really stupid. But like, if Oklahoma surprises some people, he's going to be the reason why. He's a mobile quarterback. He has a good arm. He's got some decent wide receivers there in Oklahoma. So for me, when I'm looking at like the Heisman, I'm looking at people towards the middle or bottom to try and hit a lottery ticket instead of taking like an Arch Manning or something like that.
I have no interest in the Arch Manning and any of these public guys because, of course, the value is going to be down the board. Arch Manning, thoughts?
See, here's the thing. If his name was Arch Johnson, like it'd be completely different because he played 2 games last year against Louisiana Monroe and Mississippi State, who were terrible. So naturally he looked good. We're going to learn a lot about him week 1 going into Columbus to play Ohio State. Like, he may not play well in this game, and I think it's going to be a shock to a lot of people's systems that, like, Arch Manning, a kid that we just assume is going to be really good, is not. And so I think we learn a lot about him week 1. And if you want to bet Arch Manning to win the Heisman, almost root for him to be bad in game 1, then the number goes down a little bit and you could take advantage of a worse number. Because if he's really good, it's going to go up even more. He'll become even more public and then there'll be no value there. But if he's bad, even with all those games coming up during the regular season in the SEC, he'll have plenty more opportunities to be better. So if you want to bet Arch, don't do it now. Hope he's bad against Ohio State and then take his number at a worse thing and hope that he shows out against the rest of the SEC.
Speaking of surprises, before I let you go, in your division of your Eagles in the NFC East, you have a running back in Washington that just got traded to the 49ers and Brian Robinson. What the hell is going on over there?
So Brian Robinson wasn't going to get the starting job anyway. They really like Chris Rodriguez. They have Austin Eckler, and then they have Bill Krosky Merritt, who they drafted in the 7th round. His name is Jacory. He wants to be known as Bill. I think half the people haven't really paid attention to that because they still use his old name, but they like those 3 guys more. And so it wasn't really that much of a surprise for me. I mean, the thing that is going to decide their season is this Terry McLaurin stuff. With Terry McLaurin, their offense is Super Bowl worthy. Without Terry McLaurin, it's playoff worthy, but it's not championship worthy. So they need to get Terry McLaurin in there as soon as possible. And you might want to look at his under on his season-long props because I've seen some books price him like he's going to play all 17 games. He may, but he's certainly a case for potentially a hamstring injury or something like that, considering he has not practiced at all and may not be ready right away for the start of the season.
So much drama in the East. We've got the Micah Parsons drama. We've got the Terry McLaurin drama. We're trading running backs the week before the season. This thing is insane. But mid-major, Matt, it is insane because college football is starting tomorrow, and we get our favorite time of the year with football and baseball up ahead. Matt, thanks so much for coming on. See you Monday.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Okay, coming up now. The theme of today's show is getting hit on the sidelines. So I have to, of course, bring on one of my good friends who knows exactly what that feels like, just in a different sport. In fact, I'm going to ask her if she's been hit in the sport I was hit in, but I think hers was actually way worse than mine. We're going to talk college football. We've got ESPN and Basin, Stormy Bonantoni joining the show. Happy Friday.
Hey, girl. Yes. And I will say before we talk about getting hit, that Matt, I love, it's such a good transition from a Washington person to a 49ers fan here, because you get the other side of that trade with me where I'm like, this is amazing because now we don't have to put all this pressure on Christian McCaffrey, who's had injury history issues. He can carry such a big load off of McCaffrey's shoulders. So I'm pumped about it. Although given our wide receiver issues, we would have loved Terry McLaurin too, but price tag not exactly in our realm.
For it. I was kind of hoping for it. It's a load off of Christian McCaffrey's calves and all the other leg injuries. And we're really glad, hopefully, fingers crossed for the 49ers who have the easiest schedule in football. We go over the wins, we win the division, we go to the Super Bowl.
Let's go.
I'm all for it.
Let's
49ers
go.
Ravens Super Bowl. It won't happen, but it's fine. Stormy, I showed earlier today on the show to start the show me getting hit on the sidelines of a high school football game. Oh,
No.
of course. This is what happens. Now these people, you both.
Sounds like we need to pick some dogs this weekend.
Wait, even worse. So I'm looking out the window, and the person who my dogs are like, he's just walking down the street. This guy, and he's walking down the street and stops outside and like laughing at my dogs who are barking.
It's like, dude, move along. Move along.
So
Keep walking.
rude.
Come on.
Guys, now
See, you got a good background soundtrack for the prop queen today.
Because mom's getting her hair done right now, and she could have been controlling these wild dogs. Anyway, see, now this is so unprofessional. Here's what I get for house sitting the dog.
Well, listen, you're just a multitasker anyways, because I was texting you a pic I had while you're having a full-blown conversation with someone, while you're doing graphics and your dog sitting. I don't know how you do it. It's unbelievable.
I barely do. Okay, I think they're gonna come down. I think the weird man left. That was so weird. Okay. I'm gonna have you tell the story of. Okay, I think.
Hold on. I want to know. I want to know how you got hit. What happened?
So I was on the sidelines of a high school football game, and I was like in the viewfinder of the video camera, just following the ball. I lost the ball for a minute, and the receiver just came at me on like the right side of the field, and I tried to protect the camera, which I did protect. So I like try to stiff arm him with my weak hand, my left hand, which obviously didn't work. And I get completely like taken out. I got back up, but like totally had a concussion. Still made it through the whole day, like a total champ. You can't show people that you sweat it all. You just have to go with it and be tough on screen. You recently, even more recently, got hit on the sidelines while you were like a rink reporter for a hockey game on ESPN.
Yeah, my second national NHL playoff game ever, too. So just adding that into it. Yeah, I got a puck to my funny bone in my arm. And it was one of those situations where for the playoff games, we share the spot between the benches with the Canadian national broadcast as well. So their analyst who's between the benches, it kind of just like, I constrict his view on one side, he constricts mine on the other. And so he was looking out and he sees the play and the puck coming this way, gets out of the way. That's when I can finally see the puck coming. And basically I was just like, not the face, not the face. And so I protected myself and I had full dead arm. I had a massive bruise and like cantaloupe. But I had to do an interview on the bench with Bruce Cassidy about 2 minutes of game time after that. And it's such a silly thing. My producer is asking me, like, are you okay? And I said, the microphone weighed 100 pounds. It was brutal. I do the interview. I come back. Mark Stone is the captain of the Golden Knights. He's asking me if I'm okay. I do a post-game interview with Connor McDavid. He's like, oh, you got pegged. Are you good?
Were you okay? Like, were you dying?
I was unwell. I was embarrassed. I was in so much pain. I couldn't write notes. I'm right-handed. I'm trying to like jot down notes, and it's a very good game too. And then again, I'm going to do my post-game interview with Connor freaking McDavid, the best player in the National Hockey League afterwards. And instead of us right away just being like, oh man, crazy game, he's like, you got pegged. You okay? So bad.
You need elbow pads when you're doing ringside. Have you ever been in that situation in football?
Not in college football. Like obviously if you're anywhere near the end zone, there are going to be plays that come near you, right? But I've never actually been hit by anybody, thankfully. And when I'm doing reports, I'm always like a head up person. Make sure you get out before the snap, turn around as fast as possible when you're done being on camera. So like all of those things I'm really good with. But I do have a memory of being a little kid. The first time I was on a sideline with my dad at a UNLV game here in Vegas, they had these advertisements on the field that are made of cushions, basically. And I was a little kid. And I was like, it's hot. So I'm like laying on this cushion advertisement and a play just comes right at me. My dad swoops me up in his arms to get me out of the way. And they do the replay in slow-mo on the Jumbotron in the stadium. And it's me just getting like this blonde hair whipped out of this play that's coming on the sideline. It's so bad. But like, I'm like not paying attention.
It's scary down there. As much of a really cool experience as being on the field is, as cool as it is to be like front row at a baseball game, it is scary when you're not protected.
Kelsey Wingert,
Yes.
she's been hit by a couple foul balls in that little camera bed. Like the baseball players, being around baseball and being a baseball reporter is, I think, the most stressful one, because a ball just comes at you so fast and there's nothing you can really do to protect yourself.
Well, same with the puck.
Thank you.
But we have college football starting tomorrow. We've got week 0. I know that week 1, you're going to be out there for ESPN?
Yes. And so I'll have a game every week. I'm mostly going to do kind of the West Coast night game. Used to be Pac-12 after dark, but now it's like Big 12 or ACC after dark, which is so weird that like Stanford is in the ACC, but neither here nor there. What do you say? Sorry, you cut out.
Which you don't know which game you're doing yet?
Yes. So I will be doing Cal at Oregon State for week 1, and then Arizona State at Mississippi State for week 2.
How does I don't know if people know like the peel behind the curtain part of the industry. You're one of the only people that I know that is able to do legitimate sideline reporting, also do sports betting show on VSiN. How does that, like, how do you balance both of those? Because of course there's conflicts of interest.
Sure. And thank you. I appreciate it. I, first and foremost, do not ever bet nor consider nor give out betting advice on the games that I work. And I think that's just integrity of what I do and building relationships with coaches and players and all of that stuff. I think that kind of goes without saying, but it is funny. When I first got hired with ESPN, that was one of the first things they said. I was like, I work for a betting network too, right? Like, is this okay? And they said, as long as you don't bet on your own games or give people information on your games, that's fine. And so I basically, when I go on and I'm previewing my games on VSiN, I preview it the way that I would any other, and any conversations that are had in our private production meetings that are repeatable, right? And that I'm allowed to say on the game, I can say those on the show. But like if there's a very serious something or other, or something that's off the record, then I keep it like that. And I just think that's professionalism, and that's just doing my job from that way. But I love it. And I've always loved betting. And I know we've had this conversation before on the show when I've come on with you about kind of my background and my family in betting. And I grew up in Las Vegas. It's very much so part of my blood and how I've viewed sports, and how, quite frankly, I learned sports when I was younger. So it's really cool that it's not taboo anymore.
Very different perspective too when analyzing the game. Regardless of mentioning betting lines or not, we see the game from a very different perspective. Yes. And working for MLB Network, I felt the same way, that I would look at a game very differently than most of the analysts did. So I feel like sideline reporting, you could kind of get a different angle too.
Sure. And I've actually found, and so maybe tune into Money Moves if you're curious about a team the week after I've covered them, because I can talk about their next opponent from a betting perspective. And usually that's some of the best picks that I give out are when I'm talking about a team that I've seen in person, because you do get that up close and personal vantage point. And also I think having the betting background really helps for me when I am in a blowout game or I am in a whatever, because I'm very conscious of the total in the game. And there are still people that are watching our game for a reason. And let's make sure that our audience knows that. It's just like the old Brent Musburger, which obviously he created our network of VSiN, but just like my guys in the desert think this kick is pretty important. I love that I can be that person sometimes on talkback to the play-by-play and producer to say, yeah, this might be a 44-0 game right now, but if they make this field goal, we're going over the total, right? So I love that I can kind of help some of my teammates that I work with at ESPN that might not be as aware of the spread and total in some of those moments.
Let's make some money for week 0 and talk from a betting perspective, because Jose Perez said, let's get this cash. You added to the week 0 card, so I'm going to bring it back.
Yes.
We've got first K-State -3. Why are you laying it in Dublin?
Yeah, I'm very pro Kansas State this year, and particularly in this matchup. I know a lot of people, and I've talked to a lot of people about this game, and a lot of people came into it saying, I really like Iowa State. I think this is a coin flip. And then as they got deeper and deeper in the weeds, started to side with me a little bit more that maybe Iowa State's not the right side. Their top 2 wide receivers both had over 1,000 yards last year, drafted and gone. Also lost 2 very important offensive linemen. Rocco Becht, who you look at the last season, like end of the year game against Kansas State, people are going to look at, oh, they won the game. He had 2 touchdowns, no picks. he probably played pretty well. He was 13 to 35 without a big time throw and 3 turnover worthy plays. He got bailed out in that game by Kansas State secondary because he had those top tier guys. They're not there anymore. And so, okay, maybe you say, now let's run the ball a little bit more. I don't think they can because K-State's defensive front is such a strength of theirs. They're very good against the run. And I heard an interesting story from Joel Klatt on his podcast the other day for anybody who maybe doesn't listen to that show. He was talking about a personal experience he had in Colorado where he had all this wide receiver talent. And then the following year, he's at camp and everything. He's like, I don't have those guys anymore, but the guys that I do have in my room are pretty good. I think they're going to surprise some people. And he said he had a conversation with Rocco Becht this offseason at a UFL game because Rocco's dad, Anthony Becht, is the head coach of the St. Louis Battlehawks in the UFL, and Fox carries a lot of those games. And Rocco was saying a very similar thing. I think these guys are pretty good. They're going to surprise some people. And Joel goes, but I don't believe it because I remember what happened to me the first time that bullets were firing and we're out there on the field and nobody's open. So yeah, they might look pretty good in camp, but once you get against a legit defense, it's going to be hard. And I kind of think that could be an issue for Iowa State coming out here. Meanwhile, you've got Avery Johnson, whose legs are going to be such a difference maker coming into the season, 10 pounds of muscle, bigger, but just as fast as he was. Great backfield with Dylan Edwards. Should be a good offensive line, good skill position talent around him. So yeah, that's a long-winded way of saying Kansas State -3. I really like them to start the season, and I like a lot about K-State this year.
Sean wants to know if you have any concern with their kicker issues.
I think whenever there is a team that has kicking issues, there are going to be concerns, but hopefully they're outscoring them to the point where that's not as important. But look, anything can happen in Dublin. I did a video earlier today where I said my excitement is Dublin. Is that embarrassing?
No. Nothing's embarrassing, Stormy, especially when you just laugh off everything that you say and do. You also added something else to the Week 0 card. It was the Fresno State KU game.
Yeah, I guess we're having a theme here. Kansas State and Kansas did not get the 12.
They're not going to like that, by the way.
But yeah, I'm sure. I didn't get the 12. This line's been all over the place. Fresno State was 14.5, as low as 12. I gave out 13 on money moves earlier today. I also lean under, but didn't do anything official there. I just think this is going to be kind of tough for Fresno State out the gates. New quarterback, new coach, juiced environment too at Kansas. That new stadium looks awesome, and a fan base that's going to be full of hope to start the season. Jalen Daniels, when he's healthy, is electric, good offensive line. And I think that's just going to be a test for a Fresno State group that against the run, and specifically the quarterback run, could be pretty tough. Even Kansas's defense that struggled last year, and they struggled a lot, but they should be a lot better, much more physical. New DC, DK McDonald. And they get to ease in against a quarterback that all, respect to Kurt Warner and the family, but I don't think EJ Warner is that great. He's on his 3rd different program in 3 years for a reason. Most recently Rice, but Temple before that. Overall for me, and I'd be curious what your friends in the chat think, I'm just pretty significant talent advantage for Kansas here. And for as much as I love Matt Entz at Fresno State as that hire for their new head coach, and I think they'll be better over time, I just don't think that's week 1. Or week 0.
I feel like a lot of people in the first couple of weeks love taking points, and I just keep hearing about taking points with Fresno State. Just feels like the public play.
Well, and it does, and it's those trendy dogs, right, can be a little bit dicey, but also there's a numbers difference too between 14.5 and 13 or 12. So I think if you got that 14.5 and you took the points there, you're probably feeling good. But then I also would say that there's some buyback on Kansas for a reason.
You've also got futures. And of course, we've got week 1 coming up next week. But I like that you have a college football playoff future in here. I keep asking people who follow college football, who handicap it, how different things are, not only with NIL, but the new college football playoff format. You could get more value on certain teams because of the new CFP format. And at 2-1, you could get Boise State. Why are you high on them to not only make it to the playoff, but win the Mountain West?
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not the 6-1 that we cashed on Boise to make the playoff last year. I had that as one of my best bets in our VSiN college football betting guide, and I was so happy about it. So we go from 6-1 to 2-1 for a team that's not as good and doesn't have Ashton Genty anymore. And yet I still think it's a really good bet. largely just because of the potential drop off from Boise State and everybody else in the Mountain West. They have the most depth by far in the league, 14 returning starters, among those being preseason Mountain West Player of the Year, Maddox Madsen at quarterback, the whole 2 deep up front that's protecting him, like the wide receiver room. Yes, running back is going to be a little bit more by committee, but there's a lot of belief in Sire Gaines and Malik Sherrod. So those guys are good. I think the offense will be fine. Defensively, Broncos had an elite pass rush a year ago. Don't think they skip a beat. So both sides of the ball I feel good about, and I love their head coach, Spencer Danielson. Now, obviously, with the college football playoff, you also have to take into account the other teams that could potentially get that G5 bid if they run the table in their respective leagues. I just don't think Conference USA is as strong. I know some people like Tulane. I know some people are high on like maybe USF making a run. Liberty, they don't play a single P4 opponent, so I can't get on board there, even if they go undefeated. And plus, we saw 2 years ago, I think it was, when they were in the Fiesta Bowl after running the table, they had an opportunity for a New Year's Six, and they got blown up. So the committee probably learned, Exhibit A, what happens when you have a team like that given that opportunity, whether it's right or wrong, and you should do that or not. I think that's just an implied bias they may have, whereas Boise proved that they can play on that stage and could have very easily won a game up there. So that's kind of the way that I take it, is Boise State has proven themselves and performed on that stage, and they get a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt.
Battle tested, and of course, going from 6-1 to 2-1 in a span of a year is telling you the book is high on Boise State too. Everyone's always high on Alabama. Last year, but this year you like them over 9.5 wins, -125. But why? I hate saying it's a public play because it's Bama, but like obviously you're feeding into the narrative that everyone loves. Crimson, go Tide, roll Tide, woo! Why?
Well, hopefully you don't see me doing that, but
I actually just make fun of my cousin who went there, and she like is their diehard Roll Tide Alabama. So whenever, and I went to visit my cousin who went to Georgia, and I like Georgia more than Bama, so now I'm a Georgia person. So I just make fun of the Bama family.
If I'm going to do it, I'm not going to say like, roll Tide, woo. I'm going to roll damn Tide. If I'm going, I'm going, okay? But
you're rolling with the Tide.
What's funny is like, it just goes to show, right, Alabama and the history of the program, that a 9-win team, like 9-win season for any other team would be an amazing year for a lot of programs out there. And this was a consensus across the board failure for Alabama, right? And I think to an extent, you go from the greatest college football coach of all time in Nick Saban to Kalen DeBoer, who is a wonderful coach and who's somebody like that I very much so believe in. But for the players that had been in under both coaches, it's a completely different guy. And I think that might take a little bit of an adjustment period. Now you're at the point where Kalen DeBoer's got more of his people. He has won everywhere he's been. And look at the talent on this roster, Ariel. One of the best defenses in college football they should have. Defensive line, linebacker, secondary. I'm looking through every level of this defense filled with top 10 players in the country. That'll be the foundation of the team. And then offensively, yes, we need to see who Ty Simpson is, but he's a former 5-star. Good win from the pocket guy, accurate, can run a little bit, not the same athleticism as a Milroe, for example, but can scramble for a first down when you need it. Ryan Grubb joins DeBoer again as offensive coordinator. One of the brightest stars in the country at wide receiver in Ryan Williams. There's a lot to like about this team, and the schedule, quite frankly, I think as far as SEC schedules go, sets up for them pretty well. Other than Georgia on the road, every other like really tough content. LSU's at home, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Vandy, all at home. Your road SEC games are at South Carolina, which will be tough, but should beat Auburn, should beat Mizzou. Host ULM in Wisconsin before that first big test. Like everything I'm looking at this schedule, that Florida State matchup week 1 is not exactly the challenge it's been billed to be in years past, right? So I'm high on Alabama for their talent, for the coaching, -125 for the over 9.5 wins, but also like I don't have a national championship bet on them, but I don't hate the 10-1. I think that they could be an SEC contender, a national championship contender, all the things if things fall right for them.
You're still talking about one of the most proven programs in the country that is now I guess the book, you could say, sleeping on them a little bit. So there at least is some value on a good buy low there. 7.5 wins, one for plus money, another for minus 125. Iowa, Utah. You're high on both these. Before I let you go, walk us through them.
Yes, I love that Matt brought up Devin Dampier when he was on the program earlier. I am a huge fan. And we're seeing a lot of programs, right, that are doing the offensive coordinator and quarterback transfer from another program. And that's what you're getting with Devin Dampier and his coordinator from New Mexico. I think that bringing Jason Beck along with him is huge. He does need work to develop as a passer, but this is a guy who's electric with his legs. I think this is one of the more underrated transfers at the quarterback position in all of college football this year. Rushed for more than 1,150 yards, 19 touchdowns, 7.5 yards per carry average. And now you're going from New Mexico to what could be a top-tier offensive line he's playing behind and a potentially really rock-solid defense on the other side that's going to get him the ball more often than not. So the over 7.5 wins, minus 125. I also like Utah to win the Big 12. And then the Iowa over 7.5, just looking at their schedule, years past, aside from the COVID season in 2020, they've won at least 8 games every year since 2015. And there are a handful of things with Iowa you can always count on, no matter what. Physical, stout in the trenches, great defense, great special teams, unwatchable offense. I think that last item changes this year. And I've seen a lot of really strong reviews about Mark Gronowski, the kid that's coming over. I keep on saying kid, and I think that's because I'm old now and I'm in my 30s. This young man, he's what, 22, 23?
Okay.
I think 22.
Okay.
He played all his years at FCS, and now he's transitioning. But he won titles with South Dakota State in FCS, was the Walter Payton Manning of the Year, which is like the FCS Heisman. Like, could actually move the ball for Iowa. Can you imagine, like, what a crazy thought that is? But that could be the reality for them this year. And I know the schedule isn't easy, but even the toughest games they have are all at home. And then there's a handful. Iowa State in non-con week 2 is important. That could be a tough game, but a handful of 50-50. I look through their schedule. I very clearly see 7. And if the offense is as improved as I think they could be, and apparently going to have a really strong wide receiver core to help him out too, I think we get that extra one to get over the 7.5.
It's great value to wait on a plus 135 win total. I'm all for it because I laid minus 110 with the freaking Arizona Diamondbacks, and I wish that I just bet a money line and forgot about it. So it has been irking me about laying minus 110, but it's fine. It's fine. I'll get over it. Stormy Valentoni, thank you so much for coming on the show and dealing with my dogs. I really appreciate you. I think I'm on Money Moves next Friday. Is that because I'm replacing you?
I think so. Yes. It's my first travel day, but you're going to hold down the fort. You're going to nail it. And I appreciate you having me. You're the best. Huh?
Me and JVT.
Yeah. I think actually Keith might be filling in for JVT on Friday too. So it might be like a full Money Moves replacement. Don't take my job, Ariel. Come on.
I don't think that's possible because I am not moving to Las Vegas. Far and fair. That is exactly why. Your job is completely safe with me filling in.
God bless.
Stormy Valentoni. Check her out on ESPN on the sidelines throughout the college football season and Beeson on Money Moves. I'll see you soon and good luck this season.
You're the best. Back at you later, dude. See ya.
See ya. Oh, I love Stormy. She's the best. Yes, we love Stormy. Now that we conquered a lot of college football, let's get back into Major League Baseball. We've got a little WNBA. We've got the prop queen edges of the day. Starting with some W. Actually, let's go to pitcher props first. We'll go over to Major League Baseball, go to WNBA, and then go back to my favorite plays of the day, which obviously is a pitcher prop. Pitcher prop. So Kansas City Royals righty Ryan Bergert over 4.5 Ks. Mid-major Matt came on. He gave this out as well. So we both agree. Bergert hasn't faced a high K rate team this season. And now he's getting the Tigers, who average just over 5 strikeouts a game against right-handers. Those starters, 55 overs and just 37 unders this year, with 6 of the last 10 punching out at least 5 Tigers. This number just is very low facing Detroit, so we're going over 4.5 Ks on Ryan Bergert. The next one is Nathan Eovaldi. This one scares me a little bit, under 18.5 outs. I like it because it's just very high. Eovaldi's gone under this in 9 of 10 home games. On 4 days rest this season, Eovaldi is yet to hit 19 outs. 9 of the last 10 right-handers to face the Guardians went under 18.5 outs. The only scary part of this, the bullpen. The Rangers bullpen's been utilized a lot the last couple of days. Eovaldi's probably going to have to stay in the game as long as they can. It's just a matter of if the Guardians can hit him. So Eovaldi under 18.5 outs just hits way more often than it doesn't. Just are they going to give him a really long leash because of the bullpen? We'll see. Mid-Major Matt and I disagreed on Jose Quintana. I really don't love this play at all, but I'm telling you the under 17.5 outs because it's hit in 6 of his 8 home games, 4 of 5 at night. He owns a 4.43 ERA at home, 2.57 on the road, has a career 4.46 ERA when facing the Giants. For me, it's an under or stay away. I probably just would stay away. Quintana tends to be better at home in his career, just not this year. I just don't trust him. So Jose Quintana, for me, I just would kind of stay away from him tonight. Some hitter props to watch, starting with Geraldo Perdomo to go over his hits, runs, and RBI for Arizona. He's getting the Cincinnati Reds, 9:40 p.m. Eastern time. Perdomo's averaging 2.5 hits, runs, and RBI at home against right-handers, going over in 60% of games in those situations. Perdomo's gone over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBI in 7 of his last 10 home games, hitting .324 at Chase Field. He's also hitting .353 since the All-Star break. He's on an absolute tear, so you could look there for Perdomo today. Bryce Terang for Milwaukee. They're hosting the Giants. His over hits, runs, and RBI is pretty juiced at -145, but at home against lefties at night, Terang's averaging 2.3 hits, runs, and RBI. He's gone over 1.5 in 6 of the last 10, 8 of the last 10 against lefties. And lastly, an underrated player, he should be playing tonight for the Dodgers, rookie Alex Freeland over his half a hit, run, and RBI. The book just hasn't caught on yet. He's averaging 1.3 in 19 games this season, cashed the over in 13 of 19 games. On the road at night against right-handers, Freeland's gone over in 5 of 6 games. So that's an underrated player to look out for tonight in Major League Baseball. I will share the screen and we could go through some well, actually, we're kind of running out of time. So if you would like to see matchups to watch, that's on the PropQueen.com newsletter. So go subscribe to the PropQueen.com to see matchups to watch for today. In the W, I'm torn between 2 different props in the W for Paige Beckers, starting with Paige over points tonight. So Paige's points prop tonight is 19.5, and she's averaging 20 points a game when she's at home. She's gone over 19.5 points in 67% of home games, over in 8 of the last 10. Against the Storm in the last 10, 63% of guards have gone over their points prop. The Storm have allowed the 3rd most points per game in the last 10 and the 3rd most rebounds per game this season, which is why I also was looking at Paige Beckers to go over her points plus rebounds. She's gone over this, averaging 24 points and rebounds at home this year, over in 58% of games, 6 of the last 10. 83% of guards to face the Storm in the last 10 games have gone over their points plus rebounds prop. So it's either over points, or if you want to fade the Storm because they've been bad on the boards as well, you can do that. 83% of guards have gone over their points and rebounds in the last 10 games against Seattle. One more play in the W, Natasha Howard. I am fading her tonight, her points, rebounds, and assists. She's getting the best defense in the league in the Lynx, and Howard's putting up an average of just over 18 points, rebounds, and assists at home this year. She's only gone over the prop 33% of games when they're in Indiana. And the Lynx, they've limited opponents to the least amount of points per game. In the last 10 games, 67% of forwards have gone under their points plus rebounds prop against the Lynx. And Howard's had a couple of great games against the Lynx so far, like back-to-back has gone over this. Like, we're due to regress to the mean. Natasha Howard under her points, rebounds, and assists tonight. I actually like those WNBA plays a lot. I'll never make it a royal lock because I can't deem myself like a specialist yet in the W, but I will tell you that those 2 I really like tonight in the WNBA. Paige Beckers overs and Natasha Howard unders. I'm keeping track of how I do in the WNBA this year, and then this way I'll know if like next year I'm good at it or not, but I'm just like trying to make sure that these WNBA bets are cashing. It's my first season handicapping it on my own. So I really like those 2 just based on what I've seen, based on the opponents and how they've struggled against points and rebounds. or how they've excelled against them. Like Minnesota's been a great defense all year. So Natasha Howard unders, Paige Bueckers overs. We can take a look real quick at Fishy Lines Live. So let's do Fishy Lines together live. Going through the Fishy Lines card right now real quick. So live board at FanDuel. Did I not? Ooh, that's not good. I think I didn't take snapshots of the Fishy Lines last night. So never mind, guys. That's fake news. No Fishy Lines today. I think I accidentally deleted them. I had them too. When I was at Nissan for 4 hours, I was deleting some stuff. Let me see if I go to my recently deleted if they're there. Now I have to find it. Damn it. At least it's Friday, so it will be a new slate. Oh, no. I'm not going to be able to. Oh, wait. Is that it? No. I need to find Rockies. Okay, guys. Sorry. No Fishy Lines today. I accidentally deleted the Fishy Lines. Oh, no. Sorry. We'll do it on Monday. That's sad. See, Nissan screwed up my whole day. The whole day completely messed up. So now let's just go to Royal Luck. Royal Lock of the day is what Mid-Major Matt and I agreed upon, which is Ryan Bergert to go over his 4.5 strikeouts tonight. Bergert has not seen a high K rate lineup like the Tigers yet this season. The Tigers are averaging just over 5 strikeouts a game against righties, 55 overs, 37 unders when facing the Tigers this year. 6 of the last 10 righties went over 4.5 strikeouts against Detroit. Bergert, over 4.5 strikeouts. The most strikeout prone lineup he's seen all season. Let's go. 5 Ks or more for Ryan Bergert tonight. Premier Lacrosse going to be starting tomorrow. The playoffs will begin. I do actually have a Premier Lacrosse prop for you. So Rob Pannell of Maryland over 2.5 points at plus 118. Wait, hold on. Yeah, at plus 118. He's coming off a 4-point game to get the Whips into the playoffs. He's way more aggressive in that game than he's been all year. Feels like the last ride kind of vibes for a future Hall of Famer, expecting his effort to be at an all-time high. He's playing against a team whose biggest downfall has been not figuring it out in the net and defensively. So Rob Pannell over 2.5 points at plus 110 on FanDuel is the Premier Lacrosse play of tomorrow for the playoffs. Thanks, everybody, for tuning into the Prop Queen Pod today and this week. I hope that you enjoyed watching me get taken out on the sidelines by a high school football player back in 2017. If you missed it or any of the show, you go to the Prop Queen Sports YouTube page. You could subscribe, like, see anything that you missed. I cut up all the videos, too, and all the interviews. So if you just want to see a particular person's interviews, they are clipped on the YouTube page, so you don't need to watch the full show back. You could just watch each person's individual interviews and see their picks. I'm going to put in the PropQueen.com newsletter for tomorrow's newsletter all the picks from our college football analysts from this week: Ben Stevens, Mid-Major Matt, Stormy Vanantoni. I'm going to put them all in the Prop Queen newsletter for tomorrow. This way, you can get not only all their picks, but you can also see. I'm going to attach their video interviews to the newsletter, so you can then go and watch their interviews if you want any more information on the picks that they gave out. ThePropQueen.com, subscribe to the newsletter, or just go to the YouTube page at Prop Queen Sports. Subscribe there and get everything for free. For the Prop Queen, Ariel Epstein, I'm signing off for the week. I'm going to Boston this weekend, leaving tomorrow in my hopefully air-conditioned car, thanks to Nissan. I will be back Monday in time for the Prop Queen pod, so see you guys then. Good luck with your bets.